So I'm at the beauty shop. They wouldn't let me in. They said there was no hope. So they let my wife in though, so she's gonna go ahead and get her hair did. I'm sitting out here in a bad neighborhood with not one, not two, but I have a shotgun underneath the back seat, loaded with slugs in it. I am in a bad neighborhood. As a matter of fact, I just had a memory. Years ago, I worked like 100 feet. It was one of my first jobs when I got here. It was a minute oil change. It's not minute oil change anymore. I don't know what the name of it is, but it is still an oil change. And there's a story. They were thieves, and they would make you take these air filters that were packed with grit and dirt, and they would show them to women and say, oh, you need a new air filter, even though it wasn't their air filter. So I couldn't do it. So the bottom, working the bottom, down in the pit, is the dirtiest. Hold on here. One sec. Got a weed eater guy coming by, and I don't want to get grass in the... As soon as he's done, I'll roll the window down. I just don't want to crowd him, and I'll move if he needs me to. So I volunteered to work the pit, which everybody liked because everybody hated the pit. Oh, doggone it. So I didn't have to lie to people and cheat, and they did transmission jobs, and it was minute oil change, and the guy who owned it, his name was Bill Loudermilk, a crook. So they would do transmission change, fluid changes, they would drop your pan and all that, and they would tell suit and tie guys who didn't look like they knew much about mechanics, and women, oh, you got metal shavings, we got to do this and got to do that, got to flush your transmission, you need a new filter, you know, anything to get a few extra bucks out of them. And God, it was such a dirty business, and I didn't last long. I volunteered to work the pit, which was the dirtiest part of the job. And then the weird thing is, I only had a 10-speed back then. When I got off of here, it was an 8-hour-a-day job. I would ride my 10-speed about 2 miles and go to work at Western Sizzling for about 4 hours in the evening. I was the toast chef, by the way. Yeah, I know. I went to 4 years of culinary school to be the toast chef. I'm kidding. My job was to feed the toaster, and if I wasn't too dirty, they would let me go out and restock the buffet, but usually I was pretty dirty. So, I work here just 100 feet this away, and I won't lie, there's a big ditch. I'm going to stop you and turn you around. Okay, you see this big ditch right here? It's like a, grass that goes down to it. Well, the building that's next door, I'm not going to lie, it was a boring job, it was a dirty job, and me and pretty much everybody, including the manager of the place, would go sit on that grass and smoke a joint and then go back to work. Yeah, the good old days. Okay, back to me. So, in the last clip, if you didn't see, there's an apartment complex right behind you here, and it's low income. All right, now I can roll my window down. Low income, and not just low income, but free housing, And typically, when you have free housing, you have violence and crime. I don't know, I'm not making any accusations. It's just a simple fact. These low housing, low income, government funded units are not safe. They're loaded with crime and drugs and prostitution and violence. Well, we seen a guy when I was working at that minute oil change. Somebody had stolen a bicycle and was headed to that apartment complex, and I knew what he was doing, and I jumped in my car and I hauled ass right around here to this road here and hauled ass into that apartment complex. I was going to try, because the guy was chasing him that wanted his bike back, and okay, I didn't have a car, I had a 10-speed, and I rode all over that apartment complex looking for somebody who was out of breath and had a bicycle that didn't match. And that was, God, 44 years ago. God, that's a long time. Almost 45 years ago. I can't believe all these buildings are still here. Not much has changed. It's still kind of a dangerous area. And, you know, I'm checking my mirrors, and people don't have, not all people, but most people don't have vehicles that live in this apartment complex. So they walk up to the store, which is 100 feet to my left, and get their alcohol and their zigzag rolling papers. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about was insurance. Has anybody else's insurance gone crazy? I'm in Louisiana right now, and a typical child, a teenager, 16, 17, getting his license and getting a car, and the reason I know this is because our local news, the guy who does the news, is doing this story because he has a 16-year-old that he's trying to get insurance for. $550 a month. We don't pay that. We pay that about every 6 months on a newish financed car. Appalachia's Homestead, Patera, mentioned in a video. I don't watch her often, but I happen to watch this one, and they have a 16-year-old that they're trying to get insurance for. And it's $350 a month to add him to their vehicle, not with his own vehicle. And then you add to that rents, which are in our area, Wascom, which there's nothing in Wascom, no businesses. I mean, there's a dollar store, you know what I mean? There's no industry that you could have a job and rent an apartment. The average rent in our town is like $1,200. And I think the average rent nationwide is probably $1,800, $2,000. So a young person, and this is what I was like thinking about, when you're older, it is real easy to fall into the trap of being judgmental. And you have to constantly remind yourself that times are changed. Insurance is expensive. Food is expensive. Wages have not kept up with the increased cost of having a place to live and having a car. Even way back when, 45 years ago, I had a 10-speed because I had to make a choice between having a home, you know, a place to live, an apartment, or having a car. And my apartment was actually about 3 miles that away, west of us, behind me. My job was here, and then Western Sizzling. I mean, I had 2 jobs just to have an apartment. There was no extra money. So my point, I guess, is, you know, if you're old like me, stop and think a minute. You know, don't be judgmental of kids not moving out of their parents' home. Wages have not kept up with the cost of living, and insurance is freaking ridiculous. Louisiana especially is having a hard time because there's so many uninsured motorists. And why are there uninsured motorists? Because people can't afford insurance. So the people that want to have insurance, they pay more, because the people that can't afford insurance, it's just a vicious circle. And I'm going to try to remind myself how tough it is when I see kids, grown-up adult children living with their parents, and how low the wages are. I can't think of anything else to say. It's just, I've been watching a lot of these. There's a person walking up here. It's a woman, so I don't think, you know, I'm not in any danger, but not likely. Anyway, I have in the past been judgmental of adults who live, by adults I mean 18, 19-year-old people who should be gone and moved out. I mean, I joined the Army when I was 17, but if I hadn't, believe me, I'd have been living somewhere else, even if I had to work 3 jobs. And today, at minimum wage, a person working 2 full-time jobs wouldn't be enough to have a car and a home. That's sad. And the CEOs of these insurance companies, well, the companies themselves are posting record profits. They're the only ones that are going up in the stock market. The CEOs are making multi-million-dollar salaries every year. It's just shameful. And I'm not a communist. I'm a capitalist, but this is beyond capitalism. This is people cutting their own throat. Well, people can't afford insurance. Guess what? They don't buy insurance. So it's got to stop at some point. When people can't afford rent, guess what? You got homeless people and nobody paying rent. So all these people are stuck with these apartment complexes with empty apartments. Anyway, that woman did just what I said they do. They go up here to get their beer and their cigarettes and their other accessories. And the reason I say this is because nothing has changed in the 45 years since I worked here. Same things are here, same stores, same apartment complexes, same subsidized rent. You know, most of them's free rent. Anyway, I'm not cynical, but, well, I am cynical. So what? I've earned it. But, boy, oh boy, I don't see how kids make it today. I just don't see jobs starting off, you know, a job that a young person would typically have. McDonald's, working at a convenience store, working at the oil change next door. There's a pizza place next door. Even working two full-time jobs. It's not enough. So I don't know what to say other than that. I don't know what to say other than I've been guilty of it myself, and I'm gonna try real hard not to be so judgmental of the young generation. The cost of living is insurmountable, and you can't even think about having a vehicle plus a place of your own for less than 22 bucks an hour. Okay, have a good one. If I think of something else earth-shattering, I'll come back. One hand holding up his pants. Got an armload of crap and has to use one hand to hold his pants up. Bad area. I don't even like my wife coming here. That white building there. I mean, this is just a few things I've noticed just sitting here. And the other thing is we're right next to the interstate. So people hitchhiking come down off the interstate and go to this little store here, see what they can find. But that little white building there, there's a couple of people behind it set up camp. Where are they taking a shower? I guess if you're homeless, that's one of the things that's got to go. Well, I just saw something nice. I mean, I'm not completely cynical. You can't see it because there's a truck in the way, but one of the homeless guys had a 10-speed and he took off through the parking lot, and just as soon as he got to the other end of the parking lot, the cop pulled him over. He's coming now. There he goes. I have no idea what the cop wanted with him, but asked him a few questions and he let him go. In the meantime, when I pulled in here, there was a old guy walking down the street. And I had my windows down. And the reason is I had some onions, my pickled onions this morning. And boy, do they make my breath stink. And my wife, she's been nearly gagging to death over my breath. So I had my window down, and when I went past him, he looked over and I said, "Good morning." He didn't say nothing. And the time I was sitting here, he walked by, he went to the store, and then when he turned around and walked back this way, back towards the apartments, car stopped beside him, and it looked like he recognized her because he waved at her. And she stopped, and I could see her taking stuff out of her front seat. She said, "Come on in," whatever his name was, "I'll give you a ride back." That was nice. So nice things do happen, even in bad neighborhoods. Okay, we'll see you. That's the building I worked in right there. It used to be called Minute Oil Change for many, many years. He had several of them. I was sitting here thinking about how hard life was for me back then. All alone, no family, no backup, nobody that cared about me. Down here in Louisiana, all by myself. All my people were in, Connecticut. And what a hard life it was. And I did fall into short bouts of depression because no matter how hard I worked, I couldn't seem to make a difference in my life. And I wonder if kids today feel that hopeless feeling. And that's what I felt at first. And then I got a part-time job at a corn dog stand. And then I ended up buying the corn dog stand. And then I bought a second and a third from the same guy. And that's kind of when my life improved, where I could have a vehicle and a roof over my head. And a little money to enjoy life. Okay, there's it's Red Line Express Lube. It was Minute Oil Change. That's the one I'm talking about. And another job I had, and I'm fixing to show you. Just hold on. It's right up here.
Memory Lane again.
Memory Lane. Yep.
God, I'm sick of this Memory Lane.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a whole bunch of memories while I was sitting there because, I worked at that Minute Oil Change. That was one of the first jobs I had. And then I've told you the story. I rode my 10-speed down to Western Sizzling, where I was the toast chef. And then when I finally life turned around for me, I'm fixing to turn into it right now.
What are we doing now?
This is the Pierre Bossier Mall.
Oh, I got a story.
1 second.
Yeah, and it was right here.
Right here. What's that? Yeah. Well, I got a job when they were building this mall. This was not long after a tornado came through here, and that was going to be your story, wasn't it?
No, my story was there's a stop sign right there. And
oh,
when you come in that road right there, you don't have a stop sign. And it was just me and him in this entire parking lot. And I came through there really slow. And he slammed on his brakes and cursed me. And
called you a bimbo. Didn't he call you a bimbo?
Screamed at me for like 10 minutes.
And he ran the stop sign.
I said, dude, you got a stop sign. And then he drove off.
Boy. All right, this is Pierre Bossier Mall. It's freaking huge. It's probably, I wouldn't say a half a mile. Would you say it's a half a mile from end to end?
Oh, Lord. I would think so. Okay. For your knees, we will say a half a mile.
According to my knees, it was 30 miles. I'm a good boy.
You are.
And I'm smart. I'm a smart
boy.
You are a smart boy. The floor. When they were building this, they got the building up, and I got a job putting the floor. Now, how many people do you think I've told this story to?
Me a couple times a year.
A couple times a year.
Together 35 years.
35 years.
So,
that's at least 70 times I've told you. I put the floor in this. I've told Beverly. Anybody who talks to me who's familiar with the Bossier Mall, I tell them, oh yeah, next time you go in there, I put every brick of that floor I grouted. Yeah. And that was my job. I was the grout man.
And if we talk to anybody, like who has a dog, you tell them we have a dog, and I bricked the floor at that mall.
Well, it may not sound like much, but they started me at $9 an hour. Well, minimum wage back then was $2.11.
Yeah.
So $9 an hour was top of the line pay. I was.
You was like, I would have married you back then.
I had a pickup truck. I had a motorcycle. I was living indoors.
Yeah, I think
oh boy.
$1. My first job. Not my first job. My first job that I actually got a paycheck was $1.20.
Jeez.
I know. I remember my first paycheck. I had worked all week, right?
Yeah.
And I got my paycheck, and I wanted to cry. Like, where's the rest of it?
Yeah, I remember that happening when I got out of the Army and started paying taxes. Okay, we're going home. Home, right? All right.
Yeah, I got my hair cut.
So that's my story. Life changed when I got this job, and just got a little better and a little better over the years.
And then it got really good. Your life got really good when you met me.
When I met you, it was my dream come true.
That's right. So you have a stop sign. Stop.
I stopped.
And then go.
I did the Mississippi stop.
The guy that screamed at me called me a blonde-headed bimbo.
Boy.
And I just took it. I just sat there. We both had our windows down. That was back before AC. And he screamed and told me I was an idiot. And I almost hit him and blah, blah, blah. And after he got through screaming at me, I said, dude, you got a stop sign. And then he drove off.
No sorry, nothing, huh?
He didn't even say, oh, he just drove off.
Okay.
This blonde-headed bimbo embarrassed him.
Alrighty. we're going to stop talking now.